Hello everybody, I want to make a short video today, Fed Day on July 30th. Wanted to say that the decision today by the Fed was a split decision. That's not normal. So there's dissension on the Fed Board of Governors as to whether to lower rates or raise them. But regardless, what I want to speak to is it doesn't matter, because at all ends of the curve, the short end and the long end of the Treasury market, rates are going to continue to go higher. And that's why Jay Powell had his way to leave rates unchanged, because everybody and their brother is calling for rates to come down, and I'm not so sure that they will. And you're probably not hearing that a lot of places. But as the effect of tariffs work their way into the system, and they will, they're going to see increased prices at the grocery store and at the end run of where the consumer has to purchase, because companies that are subject to the tariffs aren't just going to eat them. They may in part, but they're going to pass it on to the United States consumer. So with that being said, that combined with our sovereign debt as a nation being 36 trillion and climbing, you're going to see rates go up because the purchasers of the United States treasuries, so foreign countries, big banks, entities, people, even citizens of the United States and other citizens of the world, they're going to demand higher interest rates, because the risk is just getting too great that the United States will never pay it back, or that they'll just inflate it away and with worthless money, so it's not worth buying the bonds. And if you don't know what I mean by inflating it away, I'll give you an example. My father had a house built in 1960, and it was a neighborhood, and they're building homes, and you bought the lot and purchased the house to be built, and da-da-da-da. And I remember about 15 years later in 1975, watching my dad pay the mortgage. I go, well, how much is the mortgage? And he goes, oh, it's like $22 a month. And I'm like, $22 a month? And this is 1975. But that was based on a mortgage of between $20,000 and $25,000 of 1960 money. Okay, money was worth more, right? So that's an example of inflating it away, because even in 1975, the average mortgage would have been, in the thousands. And now it's even higher, because money is worth less, not worthless, but worth much less than it was. And that's an example of inflating away a debt. It's not hard for the obliger to have to pay the debt when they took out the debt in an era when the money was worth more, okay? So that's a prime example of how that works. So our government's either going to do that, or it's going to default. But you may say, well, we can't default because we're the reserve currency. We can just print the money. But in essence, that could end up being a default. And then you have the BRICS nations, which are other nations trying to get together to get trade agreements where they can use either a common currency or their own currencies in exchange, instead of having to settle international debts with the dollar, which is what goes on right now, and it has it since World War II and Bretton Woods. But anyways, I wanted to morph from that to real estate real quick. I'm seeing absolute spiking and swelling of inventory. I'm seeing prices come down substantially, and I mean substantially already. And those are the people that bought between 20 and, I don't know, maybe mid 2022, that bought at a premium and now realize that the home's not going to go up or appreciate in value, and want to get out. And you also have people that were buying second homes, and you have, for Verbo purposes or Airbnb or whatever, and they're bailing, and investors are bailing. And investors could be anything from Wall Street, hedge funds, couple different families getting together and saying, hey, what a great idea to go buy a house and rent it out, either long-term or Verbo or Airbnb, and they're getting out. And combined in the inventory, you got about maybe 25% of people that own their home and have bought it when it was worth a lot less. So prior to 2020, saying, hey, you know, Joe down the street a couple of years ago got X for his house, and it's the same as ours, so let's just list it and see if we can get that price. Well, they're Johnny come lately too. They're not going to be able to get that price because the prices are decelerating. And those people, maybe 20-25% of all listings, they're going to just take their house off the market. But again, that leaves you with about a solid 75% of listings of people that really need to sell. And they're going to be bringing that price down because they're on the hook, you know, for large mortgages. When I look at certain inventory, sometimes I'll dig deeper. You know, I'll find out through the county recorder what the note is for and how much it's worth, or how much, you know, the borrower owes the creditor or the bank. And I'm amazed because when you put it at the interest rates that were prevailing at the time, and a lot of people did like adjustables, so they're going up, and you know, oh, they'll come down in a year or two. No, they're not. They're going static to up. And people finally are realizing this and realizing they've made a galactic mistake, and they're on the hook to the bank. So they're going to have to sell, and they may even sell at a loss, which I'll actually say they will, and have a deficiency judgment against them. But anyways, that's sort of what I wanted to talk about. So if you have realtors, you know, preaching to you that, you know, when the rates come down, the market will liven up. No, it's not. Because number one, the rates aren't coming down. And even if they did, it doesn't matter because the prices are way, way too high. And if you look at the long-term average, so let's say from 1900 to now, so that's 125 years, you can see a definite line on a graph where prices slowly accelerate, and it's very stable how they accelerate. And then you see this humongous, well, actually you saw two spikes, one in the lead up to the 2008 Great Recession, and then this huge spike for 2020, which was the pandemic, through 22, and that's already dipping, you know, way down and gonna keep going down, and it'll probably, like most things, undershoot the mean and then come back to it. So I'm predicting 30% reductions in most markets. You know, there's maybe some markets in the country that might be a little bit different, but in most markets, you're gonna see a 30% reduction in prices of homes. And anybody buying now should be forewarned, in my estimation, because they're going to be sitting on a decelerating, depreciating asset. And if they are going to buy, you need to lowball to protect yourself at least somewhat on the downside, because most housing downturns are at least 3 to 5 years, something like that. And you can look back at 2008 peak, and it was probably about 2012, you know, when it started to accelerate back up. So I don't know, 4 years, 4 to 5. Anyways, that's mostly what I wanted to say. And it's going to be interesting to see the Federal Reserve going forward, because I don't think they're going to be lowering rates, at least not for the next 6 to 9 months. And I'm sort of the mind that they may not lower them at all. But again, regardless, it doesn't matter. The bond market has taken control of the curve, and they're going to set rates. And if you're looking at housing and mortgages, they're set on the 10-year. They're based on the 10-year note, and that thing is going up. And if you want my opinion, I think by late next year that baby will be at 6%. And right now it's in the mid 4s, I believe. So, you know, good luck, because, you know, when you have a mortgage lender, they tack on a few percentage points to that to get to where they would be lending. That's why today's rates are somewhere around 7%, which is about 2.5% markup from the present 10-year yield. And so if you get a 6%, you're talking 8.5% interest rates. And what a lot of people don't know, and I'm older, those rates aren't abnormal. The rates right now are not abnormal. Abnormal was the rates we had since Ben Bernanke started quantitative easing after the Great Recession up until about through the pandemic, when Powell continued that stuff on steroids, and we had a lot of fiscal bills that added a crap load of money into the fire. So Build Back Better plan by Biden, the Inflation Reduction Act, what a euphemism, because it was all about spending. Trump's first pandemic spending bill, and now this idiotic big beautiful bill that's going to add $4 trillion to our debt. So what am I saying? I'll conclude. You're looking at higher interest rates. You're looking at lower prices on housing, substantially lower over the next couple of years. And you're looking at an economy that tariffs could make it slow. And that's going to really create a conundrum for the Fed. Anyways, I'm back. I was gone for a while because my GoPro took a crap. It was a GoPro 8. I had it sitting around for about a year and a half. Started to use it, and after 4, 5, 6 uses, it just fell apart on me, and I have no idea why. I need to call them. And I was on vacation. So anyways, take a look at the beautiful scenery here, and I'll be back with you in another day or so.